I'm Carla Reeves, and this is Differently, a podcast where we explore the ins and outs of what becomes possible when we're willing to think, do, and show up differently to the moments of our everyday lives. A deep change in the way that you live requires a deep change in the way that you think. In the spirit of launching the podcast this month and this whole idea of differently, it only made sense to take a look at how and where our thinking plays a role when it comes to doing anything different. I was elementary school age, and at times I felt like an only child because my siblings were 7, 10, 12, and 14 years older than I. And I found myself bored a lot. And one of the things, I don't know where this idea came from, but one of the things that I would do when I was bored was rearrange my room. And I would empty closets and empty drawers and pull things out and imagine how I wanted to create my space. And then I would reorganize things and get rid of things and put things back and make cozy nooks and set up little areas where I could do the things I was interested in at that time. And I think it was something I learned to do to really solve boredom. But every time I did it without fail, I would feel better. I would be more excited about things. I would start a new project or start reading a book or just get engaged in my life again. I still do this to this day for the same reasons. Maybe I'm bored with my space, or maybe I just feel a little stagnant, or we just need some new energy in the house, or maybe it's a new season. And every time it does, it brings new life into our home. And what I realized the other day is that this process of rearranging a room is not so different from the process I take myself and my clients through every day to find new approaches to old problems, or to open up choices when we feel like we're limited or stuck, or to look at new possibilities when we feel like there aren't any, and ultimately to create mobility in our lives. One of the greatest pieces of advice I ever got was, don't believe everything you think. I think it gave me permission for the first time to stand back from my thinking, to question it, to look at it, to maybe even challenge it, and to take a different relationship with the noise and the nonsense that was often in my head. So imagine that room, and now consider that your mind is kind of like that room, and we live in it 24/7. And maybe over the years, similar to my room, things pile up. Things that are old, things that are maybe outdated. It might be ideas or beliefs or rules about how you have to do things, or what's appropriate and what's not. It may be views of yourself and or the world around you. It might be beliefs that you inherited from someone around you that maybe never really felt true or like your own. All of these thoughts create a lens. Imagine like a pair of glasses. And all of these thoughts that have accumulated over the years shade that lens that we look through and experience life through every single day. To change anything in your life or to start to do something different, it really requires that you examine your thinking, examine that lens first to really create sustainable change. Some of the, actually, an example that showed up this week, of this very thing and the power of really changing your thinking to change something in your life. I was on a business planning session, and the woman leading the session was talking about a habit that she's trying to change in her life this year. And it was around avoiding conflict. She noticed that she avoids conflict. And one of the things that she started to change in her thinking was that what if conflict means that someone is highly invested in her or in the relationship or both, right? And so just shifting that idea, considering that new thought of what if conflict actually means someone's invested in you and the relationship, changed the whole way she can respond and approach conflict the next time it happens. And she said, like, it's already making a huge difference. So that is the simplicity of what it means to examine your thinking and change it ever so slightly to allow for a profound shift. I know this might feel overwhelming. It's a lot to start to look at your thinking, but I want you to think of it just like me as that little girl changing her room. It starts by really emptying one drawer. And if you just did one drawer, that would make a difference. And so I want you to imagine getting out a flashlight and just starting to pay a little more attention to what's happening in that room of your mind. What are you allowing to hang out there? What are those thoughts that have been around for a really long time and just drag you down? Which ones feel outdated or are really creating a barrier to what you want now in your life? Shine a light and just examine it. A journal is a great way to kind of empty some of that and then take a step back and look at it. The next thing you want to do is really think about what it is you're up to in your life now. You know, when I would be rearranging my room, I would think about, what do I want my space to look like now? What am I interested in now? Where do I need a cozy nook or a table to do a craft? Similar to your life, what are you up to now? And the next step is to really start to sort some of that thinking. What thinking is in alignment with what you're up to now? And what thinking is old and maybe just outdated and doesn't serve you or anyone around you anymore? Make a pile to take to Goodwill. You know, and some of this, you might need some help doing it because some of it we're really close to. And while an old t-shirt can feel really comfortable, it might not be becoming on you anymore. The same is true for your thoughts. And after you sort it and really choose more intentionally what thoughts you're going to allow to hang out in that room of your mind, maybe you want to invite some new thoughts in. The next step is really maintaining that. And I like to think about it as taking the mental trash out every day. It's really important because it does just build up, just like dust in our home or in our room. You have to clear it out. And a daily practice of that is amazing. If that's all you did was just empty some of that every day. I'm going to leave you with two of my favorite quotes. One is by Bernard Shaw, and it says, "You better keep your mind bright and clean because it's the window through which you see the world." And the second quote is by Sarah Murray, and she says, "Every day, give yourself a good mental shampoo."
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Differently. I hope it stirred your thinking, and I invite you to take one inspired action from something that stood out to you. If you want to hear more conversations like this, hit subscribe on your favorite podcast app, and please help us spread the word by sharing this podcast with people you know. Remember, new episodes drop weekly. See you next week.